All right, so we're finally able to come out and demonstrate the shutter speed, aperture, and ISO on a beautiful day. It was raining for a while. I know I grow a lot of facial hair. We're gonna try this out now. So we have our model here, Jessica. She's gonna be demonstrating the running as I'm going to be taking photos on the camera. And so ultimately what I'm trying to show you guys is how changing the settings on the camera is going to be able to lock in that footage when somebody is running or somebody's playing a sport. So in this case, Jessica is going to be running, and I'm going to be trying to capture the running in motion with a sharp image. And so, Jessica, can you go ahead and get in place? And we're going to do a couple of scenes real quick. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it off with a setting that I believe would be good for capturing someone running. And then from there, I'm going to change the settings in order for you to see how the image is going to differ from before. So, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get set up right quick. And let's see here. And usually when you do this, you want to do some continuous shooting. So I'm going to put it on continuous shooting right now. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and tell Jessica to start running, and we're going to see how this works out. All right, go ahead, Jessica. All right. Nice. So it looks pretty sharp. So right now that was at 1/1600 of a second, f2.8, and at ISO 100. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and show you an example. So now I'm going to pull it. I'm going to put the f-stop at or the shutter speed at, let's say 1/50th of a second, and we'll put the ISO at about 200. We'll put the ISO at about 200, shutter speed at 1/50th, and we're going to change the aperture to 16. So in this case, the aperture is going to be letting in less light, and the shutter speed is going to be slower. But ultimately, I want to just show you guys how the shutter speed is going to change the image. So now the shutter speed's slower, and I want you guys to see how this affects the image. Okay, so now right there, that was at 1/50th of a second with the aperture at 16. So you can see here that the image is much more blurry than it was when I had the shutter speed at something like what shutter speed was at 1/1600th of a second. So you see that vast difference, and that's just on the shutter speed. The reason why I changed the aperture is because in this light, it's very hard to demonstrate what I'm trying to demonstrate without it being blown out. So if I was to do the same thing without changing that aperture, the image would be completely blown out. So I hope that demonstrated how the shutter speed can affect the running patterns of someone. And you know what? Just for bonus, I'm going to show you guys how the image would look if I kept the shutter speed at 1/1600 and I changed the aperture to 16. So we're going to demonstrate that right now. I want to actually see if you guys can guess before I do it what it's going to look like. While I get set up, I want you guys to go ahead and let me know what you think. All right, so here we go at 1/1600th of a second and f16. Now look at that. So that's the same shutter speed that I captured Jessica when she was sharp as a tack. But now look at the image, and that's because the aperture is closed down, right? Less light coming in. There you go.